What's that mean? When do I use this? What's that button do?
Never a dull moment at the Springs.
The 4x4 Insiders, an off-road show for the everyday four-wheel driver, whether you've been doing it for years or just starting off. This is the place to go for your off-road tips, great adventures, a good laugh, and an inside look into the lifestyle that goes hand in hand with owning a four-wheel drive.
That was
Are you not entertained?
The 4x4 Insiders, the Good Oil podcast, is brought to you by MadMatt 4-Wheel Drive and the Springs 4x4 Park. Well, there we go, guys. We're back once again with another episode of the Good Oil podcast. Welcome back, Matt and Lucas. I'm all over the shop today. We've just started. Welcome back, lads.
Thank you, mate.
Matt, I have to say, this week I was watching some of the YouTube, and I saw I thought it was funny. It's obviously not funny for the people that were involved, but one of your reacts videos, man, that bull bar, that went like 30 meters. That was gold.
Mate.
I know. I feel bad because it's not something we should be laughing about. But you can't help but laugh because old mate's just absolutely pissing himself watching it happen. And it's like, it's all sorts of wrong, but it's so right.
Oh, mate, all I think about is like, I've done heaps of recoveries over the years and I've had like a strap break before, but that's about it. But I just can't imagine just going to help a bloke out with the recovery and you take off. And then you look back. I think I'd just keep driving. Sorry,
doing what's a Jeremy Clarkson? Just drive off, or a Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Did you see that one, Lucas?
Oh, I did, mate. Holy smokes, mate! All I could think of, like, as funny as it is, but on a serious note. If someone had been standing at that bar, it would have been like throwing some spaghetti at it because their legs and arms would have just been.
That's a visual representation, isn't it?
It was bloody savage. Fair dinkum.
So I better give a little bit of context.
Yeah, please.
This is a podcast. Everyone's thinking, what the heck are you lot talking about?
Well, hopefully they're sitting there Googling Matt's latest video. But that's probably not your latest by now. But
we can live in hope. So for those that don't know, on my YouTube channel, I do what we call a reacts video, which is basically I look at a video and I break it down to try and help us learn from a situation. It's not about bagging people out. It's about learning and what can we learn. So this one is there's this a Rodeo bogged in a waterhole on Fraser Island somewhere, I believe. And his front wheels have come through the waterhole, but his back wheels are still in there. Now, I suspect he hydraulicked his motor at the time. And so that's why he's stuck where he's stuck. That's just, a little subtext. So he's sitting there and a patrol comes along, hooks onto him and goes to recover him and busts the whole bull bar off the front of this Rodeo. And Lucas, the other funny moment, I don't know where Dave's gone. He's just disappeared off the camera. But anyway, we've lost our producer.
He's going to make sure his bull bar's still in his car.
Yeah. Anyway, but how was the look? I wish the camera showed us the look of old mate who got out of the Rodeo when he comes out and you only see the hands on his hip, and you're like, I wish I could see your face right now because I reckon it was utter disbelief that his whole front end of his car was being destroyed.
Was gone.
Wow. Sorry about jumping up, lads. I just had a spider run under my feet. And I hate I sprayed about a whole can of fly spray, so I'm probably going to asphyxiate in the next 3 minutes. But
yeah, I can smell it over here.
I'll tell you.
Pretty good.
I'll tell you a very quick story, right? And this is off cusp, but it should have been one of the fails, to be honest. But this is bonus round, right? Bonus round. I had an 80 Series Land Cruiser.
Sorry, say that again. You had
Was that the fail? That's the story.
I had a weak moment. But I had this 80 Series twin lock, 35, 6 inches of lift. Like, it was huge, this thing, back in 2000. Like, it was massive car for its time. on the beach, went across one of the where the estuaries run across the sand, and when I dropped off the edge, the rear bar grabbed the sand, and I spun the tires, and it sunk. Right, so it sunk in the sand, and this estuary's running through, so it's just sinking me deeper and deeper and deeper. Went down to my chassis rails. You could not see the tires. I was very inexperienced back then, but I had what I thought was a really cool car.
All the gear, no idea. Yep.
Absolutely.
It was running about 48 PSI.
It probably was. It was actually Michelle's birthday. We'd gone to the bottle-o and we'd come back along the beach because we lived just off the beach. But anyway, that's another story.
Already, yeah.
We hadn't been drinking, like, just to put that out there. But anyway, this car, Surf, came past, right? Had kayaks on the roof and everything else, and I waved him down. I'm like, come, put a snatch strap on here. And we put 2 straps on. He hit me a number of times. The final time, he might as well have had it tied to a D11 dozer because I was not moving an inch because it had like grabbed hold of my wheels, the diffs, the whole lot. Took off, the straps went solid, and the kayaks and everything shot clean off the roof. So it's a very similar story to something coming flying off a car, but it was kayaks went off the roof. So,
and old mate's just listened to this podcast and gone, so you're the bloke. He's coming all right,
Lucas. He's coming straight to the springs. With his thing. Lucas, I wanted to also ask you, I've seen a little bit that there's a bit of an update on the MOG recently. What's going on there?
Mate, obviously it's copped an absolute caning here at the park and been down to Sydney and everything else. And I did nothing but whinge to poor old Dan from Unidan Engineering, as much as he's done a fantastic job. I'm like, mate, this thing is 80 flat out. So they've changed the gearbox, put an overdrive kit in the gearbox. So now it'll do 100, 110 on the highway, which will be amazing.
Right.
I believe a bigger intercooler. So it's, a big, nice intercooler. So whether he's going to up the boost and fuel, I don't know at this stage.
I hope so.
New alternator for the 12-volt side for all the carbon winches and stuff that are on that vehicle and all the Eco X gear accessories. And a new billet, like full billet machined with his whiz-bang stuff that he's got in that workshop bracket. So, mate, I can't wait to see this thing. There's a whole lot of stuff happening on the back, but I'm not revealing that just yet. That's going to be at one of these national 4x4 shows this year.
Well, I saw some stuff the other day. I'm currently working on a project in Sydney, and these came across my desk the other day. And
here we go. What do you got?
Look at this. New South Wales have got it dialed when it comes to ambulances. Yeah, because they're getting rid of all of their Mercedes. I'm joking. They're getting rid of all of their Transits. Mercedes? No, they're not. They've got about, I think it's 9 of these.
Yeah. So a Unimog ambulance.
A Unimog ambulance. Look at
it.
Look at it.
This would be awesome. So every hotspot on the Sydney road network, one of these will be parked there, ready for the accident.
Well, it'll have to be because it's not getting there fast.
They're not going to get anywhere quick.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something cool about those. Unidan Engineering has actually supplied a bunch of accessories on the bull bar there. You can see one of those tin plates on the front winch on the bull bar and stuff. Yep. That's all Unidan's gear. So, mate, they're a very versatile business. And
Australian manufacturing.
And do you know what's cool, right? Not only has New South Wales Ambulance done it, but the New South Wales SES has jumped on it too. So there's now these, they're called all-terrain response vehicles, which is great. Obviously, the all-terrain will depend on the driver a lot, because I could see some people getting in trouble in these. But I do have to say they are pretty cool, and I'm trying to work out how to apply for a job as just an ambulance driver just for one of them.
Yeah. There's a thing about doing CPR, Dave, that you can do it to a tune of music. You just need, 120 beats per minute?
120 beats per minute. It's perfect. There's a great track, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that'd be
it's playing in my head now. Actually, it works.
Staying alive, staying alive.
Just don't do it to another one bites the dust though, because it's the same. It's the same on 20 beats.
Down and another one. I'm good at this job.
Yeah, probably don't do that one. Don't do that one. All right. Wrapping up our first little intro. That's enough waffle for today. This is a non-waffle podcast, and we're jumping on to the next thing. So this week we're kicking off with a segment we love, which is this one. It's all about adventure. That segment where you find out the best places to visit, the best campsites, the best tracks, and all the places you want to go, right from the insiders. This segment is brought to you by Expedition Accessories. I think the best part about that is every time that intro comes up, all Lucas does is point at his shirt. It's great. It's great. Well, this week's question comes from Ryan, and I'm going to read it out for us. It says, "Hey team, my name's Ryan, and I've been four driving for about 10 years or so, but the majority of my wheeling has been tough tracks and weekend adventures in Victoria. And being honest, I generally come back with something to fix. That could also be because I drive a Land Rover Defender 90. Don't judge me." That's probably fair. No judgment here.
No, Lucas has got a Land Rover. I can see that.
A few mates and I planned to cross the Simpson Desert in May this year, and I wanted to ask how I go about preparing for that trip. I don't want to break anything out there as it's a long way home. And also, where are some of the spots I should visit when I cross the desert? And I think that's a good question because everyone loves to do Simpson Desert, but if you just drive there and do the desert and drive back, you've kind of missed a whole bunch of the country that you can see on the way. But I'll start with you, Lucas, being the Land Rover enthusiast amongst us. What are some tips for Ryan to not break stuff?
To not break stuff. Oh,
that's what everyone out there uses, buddy.
I wasn't going to go there, but anyway.
Mate, I'm always going to go there.
It's probably more around like preparation and stuff for a big trip like that.
I think the best thing you could do, mate, if you're not mechanically minded, is take it to your local mechanic and get them to give it a good once over. Check wheel bearings, brake pads, all your fan belts, radiator hoses, like all of those common components that fail, get them all checked. And obviously when they're there, they'll do a full check over of the car and go, your tyres are a bit old, outdated, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's probably your first call, is have a red hot check over of the whole car. The second thing would be, I don't know if you actually asked this, but I always recommend make sure you got plenty of water and an EPIRB so people can find you and let people know where you're going and when you're going to be there.
If you do have a breakage.
Yeah. So they can.
He's got mates going with him, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd add to that is go to your local mechanic, get all of the stuff done that he knows about. But if you're running an older vehicle, take it to a specialist for those vehicles and then get them to go over it again. And it costs you a bit of money, but think about how much it's going to cost you if you do have to do a vehicle recovery out there. Like Graham at Mount Dare, it can be up around $5-6 grand plus.
Yeah, I think they got a package out there now you can take before you cross the desert.
That's the Birdsville one, isn't it?
The Birdsville one, yeah, one of those out there you can actually pay for. See, I don't know if I'd pay for that. I get the idea of it, but it's kind of like my man, you're kind of planning to fail. But at the same time, it's probably not a bad thing.
It's like $150 or 15 grand for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you'd probably pay $150, wouldn't you? Let's be honest.
I think I would.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Now, Simpson Desert, Matt, we've done that. You and me have done that together.
We have,
and we had many mechanical problems.
We were idiots.
Well, there was some moments. But what would be some for that trip specifically? What are some of the spares you reckon that'd be worth Ryan taking with him if he is going to have? What are the things that are going to go wrong?
Yeah, look,
in the desert.
The desert's not really going to be a big killer on the vehicle because you're pretty much first gear, second gear, low range. You're going to burn a lot of fuel. Now, I'm assuming you're not driving like an idiot and barreling across every bump and sand dune at a great rate of knots because let's face it, it ain't comfortable doing that. So you're just going to be poking along and enjoying the scenery. Last time I did it, I was sort of sitting on 20 to 25K an hour And that was just a really lazy, poking along sort of pace, very comfortable. At that sort of speed, you're really not going to wear out any components of your vehicle or break anything. So if your cooling system's in good order and all of those checks that Lucas talked about have been done, you're going to have a really good chance of having a very successful trip across the desert. The only other thing I'd add, and I've said this before, is don't overload your vehicle and don't drive too fast. Those are the two things that kill most vehicles out there on the trails.
Yeah, and it is exactly that in the desert. Like if people think, my tip for you, Ryan, would be make sure your mates aren't trying to do it too fast, like do the whole trip too fast. Because you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, 450 Ks, 500 Ks. We'll do that in 2 days. You won't.
4 days.
4 days comfortably to cross the desert. Yep. Otherwise, you are either driving from sun up to sundown, and you'll come out of the desert going, I didn't enjoy that. Basically,
it's a case of why are you doing it? I do it because I want to go and experience the desert and have a holiday, unless I'm working, and then I still want to go and experience the desert and have a holiday. But
was it a holiday under the Blitz? I didn't look like a holiday from the camera.
Yeah. So if you want to know what Dave's talking about there, the last trip he and I did together was we took a 1956 Land Rover and a 1944 Blitz truck across, and before the trip in Birdsville, the Blitz truck cylinder block split in half, and I had to fix that to get it across the Simo. And we did do it.
The monkeys stayed inside the motor the whole way. The monkeys did not come out.
Yeah, anyway, that was for a TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know if 10 still plays that, does it?
It's on YouTube. It's all on YouTube these days. Perfect. So if you have a look, it's called The Off-Road Adventure Show. It was a bit of fun.
Yeah.
That was
last 4 episodes.
That was the last 4 episodes ever of The Off-Road Adventure Show. So there you go.
But yeah, so that would be my counsel on that one. Other than that, just go and have a darn good time. Make sure you smell the roses. Take the time to enjoy a sand dune. Just sit there and watch a sunset, watch a sunrise. Just enjoy.
Do you know another tip, Matt, that I reckon works with that? And this is a thing that a lot of people don't think about when they cross the desert, is if you've got a convoy of cars, you don't all have to take a socket set.
Yeah, true that.
Right? Like people don't think about it. And everyone preps for themselves. And while that's important for food and some spares and things like that, just talk to your mates and organise who's bringing what, because not everyone needs to bring everything.
The only caveat to that, I think everybody should have a basic set of stuff in their vehicle. And reason being,
sometimes vehicle-specific stuff.
No, where I'm thinking is like you're in your convoy and all of a sudden I get a call halfway across the Simo on Starlink, Matt, your dad's just died, you got to get home. So all of a sudden I'm backtracking on my own and I need to have some level of capacity to deal with things. I may not need to have the full toolkit. Being the mechanic that I am, I'm going to because I can't help myself. But to follow your point, you know what I'm saying? So it might not be that everybody has an extensive toolkit, and amongst the convoy you do, but I think just always have a degree of capacity for yourself.
The basics make sense. Yeah. Now, Lucas, I don't know. Have you been out that part of the country before, or is that a new space for you?
That will be a new space for me, mate. Never been there. Always wanted to. And
you're gonna bring your Land Rover on the trip we're going to do.
Well, mate, if I was going to take an old school car, it'd be the G60. Obviously, they've taken one over before, so
it was the first thing that crossed.
Yeah. And we met Doug Sprigg.
Yeah, Doug Sprigg.
Doug Sprigg. We met Doug Sprigg, who was a little kid, and he used to ride in the front of the G60 between his mum and dad and look through the vent under the windscreen.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
what did he? I think the line I love is he said, I had a very narrow view of the world and it hasn't changed much. That's pretty good.
He's a good fella.
He's a good fella.
Yeah.
All right, well, Ryan, that's probably from the insiders. The only other thing I'd say to you, and I hinted at the beginning, is if you're going to do a Simpson Desert trip, don't just rush out there and back. You've got so many places on the way that you can visit. Out through corner country. If you're coming from Victoria, go diagonal, head up through New South Wales outback and check out Cameron Corner, check out all the stuff up and around Inaminka before you even get up to Birdsville.
Yeah, go Digtree, all of that stuff.
All that stuff. Great Aussie history that is, it might be, read up on Burke and Wills. I reckon they were a bunch of idiots, but they still became quite popular for what they did, even though some of the stuff they did was really stupid.
Really stupid.
But that's a great one. What about the other side, Matt? When you come back from the Mount Dare side, what do you reckon? Which way would you go back to Victoria?
Well, when you come to Mount Dare, it's not that far in the scheme of things to go and see the Lambert Centre, the centre of Australia, the geographical centre of Australia. Mm-hmm. So it's well worth going there. And then from there, you head down through, you're going to see Dalhousie Springs, but then just out of Dalhousie Springs, there's that old homestead with the palms there. I can't.
Yeah, they had Dalhousie Ruins.
Yes, Dalhousie Ruins.
Beautiful sun. If you can camp there for a sunset,
primo. It would be, really cool spot, and that trail goes right the way through to the and joins up with the Udnadatta track, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So once you're on the Udnadatta track, you've got Pink Roadhouse, you've got the Mari Hotel, and that's you've got to stop there.
Stop and check out a lot of the ruins of the old Garn Railway, all down through there. Just some really, really classic stuff to check out. Just take the time. Stop in at the Lake Air, look out there, and check out the dry lake because it's usually dry.
And look. So if I was saying to Ryan the way I'd do that trip, I'd head up straight through outback New South Wales. I'd go up, cross the Murray River, then head up into Broken Hill, up through that area there. Duck in straight up to Cameron Corner, Inaminka, cross the desert, and then come back via the Flinders. Spend a bit of time in the Flinders Ranges, which is just beautiful. And then you end up popping out down at, Renmark, which you're kind of halfway back to Victoria anyway. And then, you're home. And great trip, and you've seen more than just the desert. That'd be my biggest tip.
Yeah, awesome.
Amazing. All right. Our next segment for today, we're jumping straight into another crowd favourite.
There are dumb drivers, and then there's this.
With the four-wheel drive abandoned on a muddy dirt track at Mount Disappointment.
First, Grenadier, Ineos, of course, and Spirit Clock Hill.
I've just spent a couple of days four-wheel driving with the Ford Ranger Wild Track X.
It's time for What's News?
The news segment of the show is always a cracker, and I'm going to bring up the very first one for today. I will get this all loaded up now for us. Okay. So our first news topic of today is an interesting one. It's come across my desk now. So apologies, this is taking me a little longer than normal to do, but I'm bringing it up now. So this is an interesting one. It is. I'll let you guys watch it. And we'll have a go. This is embarrassing because I can't even make it play. This is good.
So this is Dave's producer first
time.
Hey.
Just need some sound, mate.
Yeah, come on, Dave.
You don't have sound. Oh, man, I'm going to have to cut this bit out of the podcast now.
He's panicking. He's panicking.
Hold on. We're going to fix this in a second. Hold on. I'm not on my new normal setup, all right? Let's be honest.
Okay. All right, Dave. We need to find a timestamp for you so you know where you got to cut it out of.
All right, shut up. Here we go.
Queensland National Parks have just announced a fine of $300 to $3,000 for ghost camping. Ghost camping is when you book out a bunch of campsites, keep the option open of going there, and then you don't go, and then other people can't use it. Or you book out a whole bunch of sites around you to block other people, and then you kind of have the place to yourself. Personally, I think camping should be free in all national parks because there's already too much red tape, paperwork, and expense in Australian life as it is. But if you're going to do it, I think remote areas like Cape York, for example, should be exempt with no booking fee whatsoever because there's no mobile phone coverage there or internet coverage. You can't change a booking and you certainly can't cancel one. And you've got to really devote weeks and weeks and weeks to go to a place like that. So you can't guess where you're going to be day by day for 3 to 4 weeks in advance. It's completely unrealistic.
What are our thoughts, guys? So 300 Queensland, so something that happens in, as you would call it, God's country. There's who decided to fine people for not turning up for their campsite bookings.
Excellent. Love that.
Mate, if everyone can pay to come to my
That could
park
be
and I'm
a
turn
revenue
up,
stream for the Springs.
absolutely.
That could be a new revenue
I'm
stream.
down. If all my 150,000 followers can pay $60 a night and just turn up this year but not show up, that would be fantastic. I'm going to the desert. That's where I'm going, and I'm going to take my sweet time, mate. From my perspective, I think it's absolute madness. And maybe I'm being naive or narrow-minded, but I think to charge you for not showing up, like, come on. I think it's a bit unfair that people book out a whole area.
I didn't realize people do that. Do people do that?
Yeah.
Well, I've never done it.
I've seen it. No, I don't do it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, look, I think that's a bit. Yeah, come on, guys. There's a big spider right there. It must be spider season. Sorry, guys.
Don't say it.
But no, I think
get me.
I think
The arachnophobia.
take a whole area. Like, hat goes off to the people that can afford to do that. Like, well done. But
Well, it's $7 a night, so I mean, it's it's not that bad.
yeah, and I don't agree with booking out a whole site. I don't think there should be fines, but I think people should just do the right thing. My motto is do the right thing even when no one's looking. So just do the right thing. Call. Yeah,
I agree with you in that sense, but you and I both know what humanity's like, and that ain't going to happen. So, I personally, I think there's a number of issues. I'm really glad to see that there's something being said about this subject, and it's happening. Something's happening about it. I personally do not see the idea. I like whoever designed this campsite booking thing doesn't understand a big segment of who their customer is.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue. When I leave home, I'm going to head north. I have no clue if I'm going to camp at Freshwater Campsite at Double Island Point that night. I feel like camp. All right. And I'll roll into camp. And that's how I've always rolled. So I don't book ahead or anything. Now, I was camping up there last week, and we went to the ranger's office on the way in, bought our camping tickets, and stayed 3 nights. Okay, all done. I think there needs to be like I can buy, and I would love to see it as a national as opposed to state by state, but I understand it's state national parks, but a national permit for camping. So at the beginning of the year, it's like you can buy the $500 package and you get unlimited camping at campsites across Australia for $500, $1,000, whatever it might be. And you can camp at the sites as per the standard rules, no more than 30 nights in one spot or something is their maximum amount. But that's your camping done. And if you want to only buy a week permit, you can buy a week permit, and then you can buy a day permit, something like that. So you've got tiers, but you're not buying for a specific campsite. It's first come, first serve. And then I would want the rangers to enforce it. And I think that's the other problem. how much camping do I do? A huge amount. And I think I can only think of one time where I've had a ranger come along and ask me, to see my stuff, my permits and stuff, which I had. But so that's my thoughts.
I think
I'd love to know what the audience thinks.
Is it $7 a night? Sorry, Dave. Did you say $7 a night? So
in Queensland,
I reckon. I agree with what you're saying and the whole idea, but I think what would be good for me is to buy a week pass. So you can buy a week for week pass, and that week pass might be $40. I don't know, but still a reasonable price. But you've got a section of a week that you can use that campsite, and it's booked to you, and you pay enough in that fee to cover what their normal revenue would be for $7 a night, which $60, $40, I don't know, whatever it's going to be. But at least you've got a window of opportunity there. So if you get a flat tire or you do a clutch or something on the way, you don't have to change everything about your whole trip. You've still got that window. So,
okay. So if you took that idea, it's like I'm going up Cape York and I'm going to leave. I'm going to get to Cooktown. Let's say we call Cooktown anything north of there is going to be the Cape York region. So I can buy a 2-week pass for the Cape York region, and it's activated from a certain date that I can nominate and flexible and change.
The tricky part with it is, and what the argument will be to this is, campsites are booked, of course campsites are full, there's nowhere to camp. What then happens? And you see it up the Cape. I've seen it up the Cape before when people are just camping on the side of the track because there's not enough campsites.
I've seen people camping in Gunshot Creek, Dave.
Yeah,
up Cape York.
Yeah, what? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's
I've seen swags set up at the bottom of Gunshot.
Yeah.
So
there's enough space. I get that, but I think the argument is, like, if you're going with your family, like when I went to Fraser a couple of weeks ago, I want to know that I can get a campsite for the kids and me in one of the fenced areas, and I don't want to have to get there at midday in order to get my campsite. I want to be able to roll in at 6 o'clock at night after spending the day exploring and know that that campsite's mine, and I don't have to stress about it. That's the thing that would annoy me with just a pass that's like first in, best dressed.
Okay, so that's fair enough, except that I've turned up to campsites that I've got booked, and there's somebody camping there.
Yeah, that's always a hard one, because that's you with your normal pass that's just camped because you thought it's first in, first served.
I can't be in two places at once, Dave. I know I'm good, but and so what do you do then? It's like, dude, I've got a pass for this. Well, you know how that's going to go, roll. Tough, mate. Go and talk to the ranger.
What do you do? Go find a ranger and get him to kick him out. It gets a bit awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
So I don't think there's an easy answer to this. What I do know is what's there now does not work.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think finding someone for not turning up to your campsite is the right answer. That just sounds like revenue raising to me. But something that I think the Springs should implement, because you might then have enough. Just take a credit card when they book, and if they don't turn up, they still pay.
Yeah, see, I'd like to the Springs to consider like could you guys have like an annual pass where I could buy an annual pass at the beginning of the year to access your park as much as I want through the year? Is that an option that would financially make sense for you? Because you go, I know that I just got $500 out of Matt. And
what's the average number of nights someone would do? I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to do the numbers. But someone like me, because I get up to your park, well, it seems like I'm up there a couple of times a month. Yeah, it's just because you like me and keep saying, Matt, can you come visit? But aside from that, geez, I got tickets on myself, haven't I?
Just a little bit.
Geez, it doesn't get any better.
Hey guys, sorry. I just pulled a face like I chewed into a lemon, just so everyone can see my face.
Yeah, I reckon it was the same face that bloke who hit Beer O'Clock Hill in the Hilux in third gear pulled when he bounced at the top. That was when all the power from his run disappeared when the back wheels came off the ground. That was gold. I did have a good chuckle. All right, we're going to move forward. Now, that guy thought he was a bit of an off-road racer, but I tell you what, and that was the best segue I've ever done in the world. But we're rolling into one of the biggest off-road races.
Tickets on everyone here.
No, I know, it's tickets tonight. This is one event that I would want to have a ticket to, though, Matt. There's another link. How good's that? King of the Hammers. It's finished up for this year. But, man, I tune into the live stream. I love watching it. It's always on for the weekend when that happens. But you've been over there before. What's it really like to be at that event?
Well, I better explain what King of the Hammers is for those, because people don't know. So King of the Hammers is an off-road race held in a place called Johnson Valley out the back of Los Angeles in the States. I've been there twice. And, here you go. So it's Ultra 4 race cars, but it's so much more than that. They get trophy trucks, they get motorbikes. And the really cool part about it, in a lot of ways, the racing's cool and great fun, but everybody comes into Johnson Valley and sets up camp, and you can get like 80,000 people turn up to this valley, and it just turns into, it's a 24/7 four-wheel drive feast. If you want to, there's people four-wheel driving at 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, just up Chocolate Thunder, up Backdoor. So these are some of the names of the trails, and it's
That's
just
concerning.
Yes.
yeah. Seriously, seriously.
Up back door, up Chocolate Thunder.
Matt's only just realised how all the tracks are named in King of Hammers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Sledgehammer and anyway. Oh, dearie me, we had to go to the gutter quickly, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Thanks, Lucas.
But what I've seen, and look, what I've seen is most people when they head over there, like you're hiring not only like a motorhome to live out of or something like that,
Yep.
but they've also got like a Can-Am that's just like their own taxi. Just cruise around the desert, go watch what you want. Like that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I met a fella over there, and he was cruising around in a Hummer on 54s. He took me for a bit of a ride in that because I was hitchhiking. He's like, "You want to go for a ride, man?" Yeah, right. So we go, and it's just met another fella. He had an F450 that was on 44s, I think, road driving this thing, towing his Ultra 4 race car. No, his Ultra 4 race car, which was on 54s, and and it's just like it's every sort of crazy, So it's a lot of fun. It's dusty, it's cold. It's a real experience. Anyway, it's a real experience. Maybe we should look at doing a podcast over there.
Oh, mate, like I'd be in a heartbeat to head over to Hammers 1 year. I would very much enjoy being involved in it. But it's one of those bucket list items.
One of the cool experiences I had over there, I went first time with a bunch of mates, and I actually have a mate who runs tours to this. So you literally stump up your money, and Dave will take you on the tour. So if you want to check that out, just Design Fab Industries is his company name. Google that, Design Fab Industries, or shoot me a message on MadMatt 4 Drive, and I'll hook you up with Dave. But basically, you stump up your money. He'll take you on it's usually about a 2 to 3 week trip, and you'll go and see a whole heap of the manufacturing facilities. Like he takes you to Ibark Springs. He'll take you to Gear Works. These are the other day when I was over there for SEMA, we went and checked out some of the engine builders who build the engines for these trucks. So if you're a gearhead and you want to check out all this stuff, this is the tour you get on. But then you go to Johnson Valley, you go and Dave, he organises your accommodation, your food, transport around the Hammers. So it's literally pay your money, turn up and have the time of your life experiencing King of the Hammers. So it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in. And there's some funny looking vehicles at Hammers, and they're vehicles that started off kind of like a manufacturer's vehicle, like the Broncos and stuff like that, and then they're turned into these wicked race trucks.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that in future years at Hammers we might even see one of
Where
these.
You go?
What
Where
do you
are you
reckon,
going
Matt?
here, Dave? Here we go.
Patrol, please be a patrol.
The Kia Tasman, the coolest car. The coolest car to hit the market.
You are the king of transitions, mate. I didn't know where we were going there.
This is good. It's good. So I brought this. I wanted to bring this one up this week because it's been like we all saw the ad campaign where it was all those Aussie icons in a pub trying to pick a name for this thing, and it was a cool ad campaign. Everyone was really excited. I was really excited because, when Kia entered the market in passenger cars, they shook the whole place up, right?
And make a good car.
They make a good car with good warranty and all that. So we're hearing they're coming out with a ute. It's going to be in the Aussie market. And then this lands.
Yeah, it's a cardboard box on wheels.
It's another Lego car, ain't it, Lucas?
Mate, I don't know.
You know how very early Series 1, like 1960 Land Rovers have absolutely no shape nor form? That's exactly what this is. That's where the body styling came from.
Well, it's got the guards are about the same size as that Landy behind Lucas.
I would suspect when they put those guards on, they went to a Landy and they just took like 200 mil off the inside of the guard and slapped it on there with a few rivets and called it good.
It sort of looks to me like it's a rip-off of a Gladiator, to be honest. Like just
It's
the
got that feel,
external,
doesn't it? Just,
yeah, it just sort of
Yeah.
looks like a mini mistake of a Gladiator. That's what
Well,
it looks like to me.
But what annoys me the most about this vehicle, right? And this doesn't take that much to annoy me, but sorry, this is what it looked like when they did the mock-ups, and the prototype, right?
See that one on the left?
That's
what
good.
it turned out.
And that's how it
sexy.
came out. Like on the
Oh.
left is the prototype.
That is cool.
And it
On the
looks
right,
sick.
on the right
Is spew.
is what they came out with.
Somewhere between the left photo and the right photo was a Christmas party.
Oh yeah.
But somebody in the design team had too much to drink.
Yep.
Like, and you know what? Can you imagine like being, because look, the one on the left, it's Navara-esque in some ways, right?
Yeah, I
a
can
little
see
bit of
that.
that front profile is a bit like that, and that
Yeah.
they do look good. They do have a good front profile look on them, and you're looking forward to this, and then old mate gets released, and are you cancelling your order?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. The thing about it is, when you look at the Tasman, there's sections of it I go, oh, that's kind of cool. And, you know, I think that all that's happened and gone wrong was these flares, to be honest.
Yeah,
And, like,
okay.
I know that the vehicle is way more than just flares. So I suspect under the skin, this is probably an excellent vehicle. That would be my suspicion based on what I know of Kias and having driven a few. I was reading through the specs of it, and I'm like, this is probably quite a good vehicle. It just needs the aftermarket to come up with some flares, because
But
Kia
tell
don't
me
do
this,
flares.
right? Looking at that picture, how is it possible to? I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys design a bull bar for the thing, right? The lights are that far out.
Yeah.
Like the only bull bar that's going to be able to go on it is a non-hoop bull bar,
Yeah.
Bumper replacement.
a
Yeah.
bumper kind of replacement bar.
Yeah.
So it's going to bring some challenges to the aftermarket market.
I'll tell you one thing that concerns me about that ute, and we've discussed this before, is the fact that it's a 3.5 ton tow. Like, I'm looking at that car going, like it's just all sorts of wrong. Like putting a 3.5 ton tow behind that car. Like I need to get some more information on payloads and all that sort of stuff. Because us as Aussies, we want to chuck a decent lump of metal in the back of it. You know, we want to be able to carry some good stuff and tow some good stuff, and I just don't think this thing's going to be able to cut it.
Well, we've got a mate of Dave and mine, Borgie, coming on in an upcoming podcast, and he will absolutely blow us away with what he knows about this stuff, and it'll be really, really helpful. So it's definitely a podcast to wait for.
Yeah, we'll wait for that one. It'll be all on GVM and weights and all the stuff that goes with that.
Yeah.
And Borgie's got his Weigh Me RV business and spends a lot of time working with people who are doing exactly that, buying a caravan. Then they rock up to Borgie and he goes, "You can't tow that."
Unhitch it. Well, I'm going to apologise to the audience, because when I was doing some research on this particular car, I just stopped. I just went, no, not doing it. It looks like a pygmy that's died. Like it's just an absolute.
There it is. There is his animal reference every time.
Yeah, so I'm hoping you guys can shed a bit of light on this thing. I had a look at the interior and stuff, like the cockpit. You know,
not bad.
You know, it looks pretty cool.
On the website, did you notice the problem with the two photos they've used for the cockpit? One's left-hand drive, one's right-hand drive.
Yeah, one's right-hand, yeah.
Well, look, you can't. You've got to do what you can do, all right?
Yeah. I couldn't pick on the little things because there was just so much other stuff that I was just like, oh, that's nasty.
Well, if nothing else, they've got us all talking.
Yeah,
they do.
Well, look, mate. At the end of the day, and as much as I think it's an ugly pygmy of a thing, I'd love to get my hands on one and really push the limits of it here at the park. You know, and
Let's
then
do it.
Maybe my opinion would change. You know, so
Totally.
That's what I'm sort of thinking, Lucas. Is I suspect under the surface, under the skin, it'll be a really good vehicle. Like I genuinely think, like they've used the Australian people to design and build the suspension and tune the vehicle to Australian use. And part of the video I was watching, it was saying, they were trying to balance that between the agricultural user, the farmer and so on, and the person like you and I, who's kind of a bit of a four-wheel drive and around town, and they've really worked that. Well, just the fact they've got that sort of thinking in mind, if that was their goal, they must have come somewhere within QE of that.
Yeah.
I really do think it'll be. I'd love for Kia to let us know how we can go for a drive. I don't even know how to get in touch with them, but
I don't. And it's obviously it's coming this year. It's not here yet, but it'll be another interesting one. I think a lot of new vehicles coming this year. Lots of new utes definitely in that space coming out, especially in that electric space. Plug-in hybrid space, as well as this one here. And interestingly, they haven't even played in that space at the moment. This is just a 2.2 litre diesel.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting year, with all these new vehicles, dual cabs and stuff coming into the market. But and then you got the Ranger and all of that stuff. It's a really interesting space. I wonder if if any of the audience who's listening, shoot us a message about what you'd like us to, talk about, and maybe we can start exploring how you get hold of some media vehicles, so Lucas and I can take them out. I say us because we're close to each other.
Totally, take them out and give it a go.
Yeah, go and wheel some vehicles around the springs.
Something I like about the Kia Tasman is the automated diff lock. Like, it's got a rear automatic diff lock. I'd love to know how the functionality of that works and how reliable it's going to be. But I do like the fact that it takes that away from the operator. So
and I've got an idea, right, for the springs as part of our vehicle testing, right?
Generally, these are pretty good. So let's go.
Thank you. How Top Gear, right, the show, or Grand Tour, or any of those shows, they do that kind of leaderboard of which car goes.
Oh,
where, right? Beer o'clock hill, first gear, low range, set idle, and they just a little sign goes in where it stops. It's just
so the creek basically once it crosses the puddle. Lucas, what was it? We went up Beer o'clock hill in the other day, Lucas. Was it a Mazda? It was a Mazda. The mate who's doing the charity run, and he brought his little Mazda
121 or 323 or something. It was.
It went up.
No,
it attempted.
Was that the one that got there and turned on its halfway and then nearly rolled coming back down? That was sketchy. I didn't think a car do a 180 on Beer o'clock hill. That's
but
scary.
it had Lucas and I on the uphill side to keep it down.
Well, then it was fine. It was never rolling.
You never thought about that, did you?
It was never rolling at all. All right, last news topic for this week before we move on, because we've got a big one this week to talk about, which is going to be exciting. I want to introduce, and Matt, you sent me this during the week, and it is, I don't know how I feel about it, but
I do. I know exactly how I feel about it.
I know. Well, Matt, you're going to tell us anyway.
But
here it is.
I will.
It is a Fused Kinetic Recovery Kit. So, right? So what this is, right? There's two 6-meter kinetic ropes with a 7.5 ton Fuse soft shackle in the middle.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
dude,
what's the go? Like, what's the theory? Like, before we talk about your feelings, which I am getting an idea of what they are.
I'm a bit transparent, am I?
Yeah, very. Tell me, what's the theory behind this? Right? There's got to be a theory behind it as to, when you think fused, you think safety, right?
Yeah.
So a fuse is put in place.
Yeah.
To protect people.
Yeah.
Right? That's what a fuse is.
That's right.
So how does that apply here?
Well, look, I'm going to be guessing and making some assumptions here.
Hey, this is getting worse. We've got Kias now. We've got bloody fuses.
So Matt, can you maybe explain to people what we're looking at on the screen as well? Just so
you're gonna have enough of my voice in a moment. Let Lucas have a crack. Come on, explain what we're looking at here, Lucas.
So what we've got here, guys, on the screen is two 6-meter kinetic ropes with a 7.5 ton fuse. soft shackle in the middle. So basically, it's two kinetic ropes, and they put a soft shackle in the middle. It's underrated for the whole recovery process, and it is going to break if they get to a particular strain. So people are going to die. Is my opinion there? Like it is just. I just like, mate. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of line here, but I think that this is one of the most dangerous and silliest things that I've seen on the market today. So,
yes,
over to you, mate. You tell me, mate. What do you reckon?
No, absolutely, I agree with that.
Lucas is now doing recovery kit inspections as people roll in.
Yeah.
Do you have a fused recovery kit? You're not allowed in. It's like beer at a festival.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Look, okay, so serious hat on, jokes aside. I suspect that, well, I'm prepared to say that whoever's come up with this concept genuinely believes it's a good product and it's a great idea. I have no doubt that their intentions are honest and they're trying to be innovative.
Yep.
Dare I say it, they've not gone and spoken to the appropriate authority on the matter, people who understand kinetic, engineers and stuff. And I'm not an engineer. I get a lot of my information from engineers and from professionals who really know their stuff. So I'm educated and I educate, and I believe I can speak with a degree of authority around this based on that. So when you perform a kinetic recovery, every time you increase your speed by two, you quadruple the amount of energy that you generate. So by the time you get up to 10, 15 kilometers per hour, which is the absolute maximum amount of energy you should be generating with a kinetic recovery vehicle, you're starting to generate significant energy, like a huge amount of energy. And Robert Pepper, he's done an excellent video, and I'll get it linked into the show notes here, and go and watch it. And he unpacks how this system works, how the increase of energy works. Now, the problem we have here is that we've got a fuse designed to blow at 7.5 tons, which is quite low, and we've got a 12-ton kinetic recovery rope. So right there, the math doesn't work. If you think electrically, if you've got an electrical circuit that's designed to blow at carry 20 amps of power through it, you'll put a 25 amp fuse in. Okay, your fuse has to be bigger than the capacity of the system. Here we've got
or at least equal to.
Right, at least equal to, but realistically it should be a bit bigger. And that's because a fuse is a protection device. Now, in this situation, we have a 12-ton rated kinetic recovery device with a 7.5 ton fuse. What that says to me is that I'm going to go and set this up to do a kinetic recovery, and that fuse is going to blow. But when it blows, we're going to have preloaded our kinetic ropes a significant amount, a huge amount for that fuse to blow. When that happens, we now have two 6-meter recovery ropes flying at each vehicle. So the back of my vehicle is going to get panel damage, absolutely. And I'm going to do a Reacts video in the coming weeks where we see a kinetic recovery rope strap, fail, and the damage it does to the rear of a ute tray is it genuinely bends metal, and it's just a strap. And so this is where this is dangerous. One of the reasons I don't like snatch straps as much as a recovery rope is the fact a snatch strap has a fuse designed into it, whereby where the eyelet stitching closes over and finishes the end of making the eye and that stitching point, your snatch strap, assuming it's in good order, will fail there once you go beyond the capacity of the snatch strap. So if you've got an 8,000 kilo snatch strap, it'll blow that fuse around 8.5, 9 tons, somewhere in there. That fuse is going to fail at that point, and you now have a snatch strap flying back at your vehicle. And I've seen just the strap bend curved panels on vehicles. Like, that's just the strap. So there's a huge amount of energy involved. So although this system, I don't think it's probably going to decapitate people like tow balls and tow hitches do, it runs a very real risk of damaging windscreens and probably coming through into the cabin space and certainly injuring people would be my guess.
And remembering as well, the fuse isn't necessarily just going to drop to the ground either, right? There's now a little projectile. It might be rope, so it's not going to do the damage of a shackle or something like that, but it's still going to be flying around in the middle.
Now the next dimension to this is, this is a huge thing to unpack, and we won't unpack it now, but I very rarely run air dampers. Okay. And there's a whole reason for that. And it's not me out on a limb going off on my own. And I know there's people who think that I'm stupid for doing that. If you want to run your air dampers, you go for it. But I don't run them, and that's another thing to unpack another day. But if you want to run air dampers in this scenario, you're going to need 6 air dampers, because each recovery rope needs to have 3 on it. You need to have 1 at each end and 1 in the middle of each of those recovery ropes. And then you might have a chance of you'll reduce the energy in the rope coming back at the vehicle. That's granted. But to even do that, you've got to actually have 5 kilos of loose weight in each of those air dampers. So that's 5, 10, 15. That's 30 kilos of loose weight on that recovery rope.
Yep.
No one. I don't even own 6 air dampers. I've got them here, but I don't even own them.
Yeah.
So let alone carry them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think so. I guess the question to round this one out is, would you buy one? Matt would probably buy one just to do some videos on it, but that's probably about the limit of it, I would say.
Yeah.
Look, I don't particularly agree with it. I think what you said, Matt, someone is trying to innovate, and innovation, I don't want to crush innovation.
No, not at all.
Good on you for trying something new.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a no from me.
Dave, I'll just throw it out there, man. I am, and you guys are the same, I know. I am not out there to upset people and cause hassles and stuff. So if the people who have developed this system want to reach out and have a chat, I'd be happy to welcome them on the podcast and let them, we have a chat about it.
Explain the testing that's gone into it and how it works.
Mate,
totally.
I was wrong once before. I later on found out I wasn't wrong, but there was a brief period of time where I thought I was wrong. Nah, I could very well, I could be so off the mark on this because I don't understand something that they've actually genuinely is legitimate. I want to learn that then. So I'd be more than happy to have a convo if they're keen.
All right. Yeah. Well, Lucas, anything else to add before we jump onto this week's big one?
Look, I agree with you guys, mate. The innovation and the idea and, sitting there and coming up with this sort of stuff is exactly what we need.
And bringing it to market. Huge.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, and forgive me as well, if you've taken it and you've tested it and you've got evidence that shows that this works really, really well, I'm all ears. Show me and correct me as well. But, mate, I just think it's a failure point that you don't need in a recovery situation. The idea of a safe recovery to me is to limit the factors of failure, and that is introducing another factor of failure. So to me, it doesn't work. I wouldn't own one, but thank you very, very much for the innovation and the idea.
All right. Well, we're going to roll straight into our big one for this week, and cue the intro.
It's that time of the week when we take on the big questions, and this week is a cracker. The big one is brought to you by the Springs 4-Wheel Drive Park and MadMatt 4 Drive. Take it away, lads.
I like the music behind that one. It's a good one. I quite enjoy the big one theme music. Now, the big one this week is about is the first time we've done something a bit more technical, right? To try and educate people a bit more on some, I guess you'd call it basic information, but at the same time, it's important when you own a 4-drive to understand how this works. So we're going to talk about 4-wheel drive suspension. So we're calling it a 4-drive suspension masterclass, and it's a big name considering who we've got in the room. But I guess let's just put a summary on it, right? Your 4-drive suspension is probably one of the most important parts of your vehicle to get further off-road, to be comfortable off-road, and for your vehicle to last longer, right? Like if your suspension is stuffed, you're not going to enjoy your forward driving experience, right? So what we want to do as part of this is talk about some of the different types of suspension that are on the market, talk about how they differ, because even even the most modern forward drive out there, some of them still have suspension that was designed back when horses and carts were running around, right? Like it hasn't changed all that much. There's been some rather large advancements as well. However, some of those components haven't changed in a long time. So, Matt, I think let's maybe start off with talking about what are the different types of suspension on the market, and let's maybe start with that and kind of where they kind of came from.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
talking about throw that one at you.
Yeah. There you go.
That better you than me.
Yeah. It's like in the pre-show, Dave's like, "Yep, I'll lead all of this, and you guys follow along." I guess I'll follow along now.
Come on, mate. This is a masterclass. You're the guy that stands on the mountain.
Yes, Mount Maxus. All right, leaf springs. Well, we all know what they are. The innovation in leaf springs from the buggy days is the quality of the steels that are used, and that is a huge part of making them last a lot longer, and they're excellent for load carrying, and you can get a very good ride out of a leaf spring system. One of the other innovations is a leaf spring designed called parabolic, and lots of trucks run these sort of suspension leaf springs in them because it's kind of the easiest way to think about it is it's a leaf spring that works like a coil spring, and that's the simplest way of describing it. So it looks like a leaf spring, works like a coil spring. So you don't. One of the key things with leaf springs is that they have what we call interleaf friction, and so it's the leaves of the spring rubbing together against each other, and that creates a certain amount of resistance to movement, which is the main reason leaf springs are kind of harsh and heavy, and you don't need as strong shock absorber on them. The parabolic leaf spring removes that interleaf friction. There's that. Then we've got our coil springs, which are, well, they're a coil of wire. And so instead of being a long, straight leaf spring, we take that, turn it into a coil and wind it together. So it allows us to have really good packaging options in a vehicle. It gives us excellent ride comfort and also gives us a lot of flexibility. So it's an excellent off-road sort of spring for when you're wanting a bit more articulation and ride comfort. Then we have torsion bars, which are basically the spring is now a solid, straight, round bar, and it works in rotational moments. So one end of that torsion bar will be held solid by a set of splines, and the other end will be connected to the suspension component. And as the wheel goes up and down, the bar rotates. So that's your torsion bar type of system. And then we have independent suspension, which can be a combination of torsion bar, it can be a coil spring, the other one which we haven't we can have as well is an airbag suspension system. Yep. So we have compressed air. Land Rovers, and that tend to run, and Range Rovers tend to run those sort of things. Very supple, very smooth type of ride. Yep. They can be excellent load carrying as well. Trucks run airbags in a lot of their suspension systems, and they're despite people think, they're going to get punctures all the time. Very rarely do they get punctures. So they're a very good system. How'd I do, Dave?
That was all right, mate. That was all right. I actually didn't mind that at all. That was, it gave us a bit of information.
Got the producer Dave's tick of approval.
That's good. It's good. Now, what I want to talk about next is some of the pros and cons of these different types of suspension, right? So let's, and Lucas, we'll start with you with this one. Let's talk to me about some pros and cons when we're talking about leaf springs.
Well, the number one pro for a leaf spring, in my opinion, is load carrying capability. So, you can, like, as much as it pains me, but a 79 series, for instance, you can put massive leaf packs in the back of them bad boys and they will carry mega loads in comparison to any, like my coil GUU. It's just not designed to carry those loads. So that's the main pro. The main con for me is ride comfort. Leaves are generally rough as guts. The what do you call them? I'm going to say probiotics.
Parabolics.
Probiotics.
Yeah, I'm healthy as in the guts.
Yeah.
You're cool, mate. You're cool.
But the parabolics. Are a somewhat better leaf spring option because they give you a much nicer ride, and they still have that load carrying capability. So that's probably the leaves.
I think the other one that's probably a con for a leaf spring is ground clearance. That becomes quite a big factor when you
depends on the design.
Obviously, if it's underslung or over top, understand.
Because Hilux and stuff are over the top of the axle, and 79s are underslung under the axle.
Yeah, and I think that underslung definitely, can become a bit of a drama when you're off road, because
absolutely,
not only have you got less clearance, but you've also sometimes got U-bolts hanging out the bottom that tend to like to grab rocks and stop you going anywhere.
Well, it's funny on that, Dave. I've actually had a number of 79s that have gone over rocks and snapped the U-bolts here in the park. So the bolts have grabbed a rock and it's bent it, and I don't know if they've reversed over it, but snapped the U-bolt. So
I think it's superior engineering, isn't it, Lucas, who make a modification for the leaf packs so that you can remove that hang-up point as such.
They do them for 79. We got a kit for Alicia's cruiser. A little while back. Haven't had the time to fit it yet. Typical me. It's still sitting in the shed, but it's designed so that it actually, how that mounts keeps those, really protects those hangers.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is sort of on subject and totally off to the side, but
typical Matt, really.
Yeah, it really is. Interesting observation. So I suspect you guys have been in the scene long enough that remember when 25, 30 years ago, four-wheel driving really revolved around a lot of leaf-sprung vehicles. And so the trails, in the center of the trails, the mounds used to be narrower because the leaf-spring vehicles would be coming through and they'd shape the mound with the leaf springs. And then we got the 80 series and the GQs and all of those coil-sprung vehicles come in, and we didn't have as many leaf springs. And what I noticed over the years was the mound in the center of the trails widened, and now we've got the 79s and a lot more of these leaf sprung vehicles coming back to the trails, and you can see the center hump having to change again,
getting ground down.
Yeah,
interesting.
Strange observation.
It is a strange observation. No, that's fine. Now let's jump on to coil springs. So Matt, I'll let you start with coil springs, and then Lucas, you can jump on that as well. So Matt, you can do pros. Lucas, you can do cons. There we go.
All right. The pro is ride comfort and packaging. You can package them in the vehicle really quite. They're compact. And they're also lightweight comparative to a leaf spring. So your GVM of the vehicle's reduced because of that. So those are key things. The flexibility of a coil spring in the sense of the design flexibility. You can have, all sorts of different spacings in the coils, wire size, and get like a coil spring, for example, that's really soft at light load. And then as the load comes on, it strengthens up. So you can get sort of kind of really cool innovations in there.
Like progressive coil springs,
Yep. And then you can also, the cost of a coil spring is considerably reduced. Like if you go and buy an aftermarket coil spring, I don't know, maybe you're going to pay $200 for a set, $300 for a set. And a leaf pack is easily going to be, $500 sort of thing. So just because there's so much more designed steel, etc. in there. So
okay, cons is a hard one for you, for the GU boy who loves coil springs. So cons of coil springs.
Well, I know that's a con, but I've got to throw a positive in there as well.
Yeah, go.
I think with the coils, serviceability is so much less as well.
Good point.
A coil,
no bushes,
you set it and forget it. Whereas leaf You've got bushes that wear out. You've got to grease them regularly, like all that sort of stuff. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. Sorry, Matt.
No, that's an excellent point, Lucas. Well said.
But coils, as far as coils concerned, cons, they are rubbish for loads. Like you can't put loads, which I spoke about before. But the beauty of a coil is the versatility of you can put a helper bag on the inside of the coil, which will make it a load carrying capability vehicle. So you've got, the best of both worlds. You can carry. Well, that's a tough one because
I got a con for you. I got a good one, right? Because I did this once. I had a 100 series live axle 105.
Yeah.
And one time I was replacing the shocks and I'd taken them out. And then I was like, I'm going to go for a drive around the block and see what this is like.
Oh, yeah, of course you did. yeah, it didn't work out, did it, Dave?
If you blow a shock on a coil sprung vehicle, that's a horrible trip.
You're in for a hell of a ride.
You're in for a proper ride. Whereas if you blow a shock on a leaf sprung vehicle, you just put a block of wood in there and
well, we blew the shock on
do that.
Like, we blew the shock on Rick's truck up Cape York.
And we pulled it off through in the back, and it still did the rest of the old coach road.
He didn't even know it had gone. So I was sort of like, maybe you don't need shocks, Rick.
Let's not go there.
So on that,
all right, Lucas, you go.
I was going to say, one thing with coils as well is like a con is the limiting factor of the actual stretchability of a coil. So, like everyone's belief is a coil outflexes the leaf sprung vehicle. I disagree. I think a leaf sprung vehicle set up correctly can outflex and outdrive a coil sprung vehicle every day.
I'd agree with that.
So you can put mega shocks on a coil, like my Ute, for instance. You can put mega shocks on there that are super long, give you all the flex in the world, and the coil will just fall out the side, because it can't stretch and stay in its seat. Whereas a leaf pack that's set up correctly for a flex built vehicle, you'll get mega flex out of that thing and nothing will fall out. Like it'll stay where it's supposed to stay. So
I thought I might just mention something, because some people, I'm sure they don't quite understand the difference between what a spring does and what a shock does. So the easiest way to think about it is a spring carries the load, a shock absorber controls the load. Think about those two components in that way, and you'll be well on the way to understanding how a suspension system works and the need for each component. So spring carries, shock controls.
And great, just I'll take out section 3 of the discussion. That's perfect.
No worries.
So just
I read the notes.
Just on what Matt was saying before about being a soft coil and a hard coil. So you got a progressive rate coil, which has two types of coil winding or two thicknesses in the coil. So it'll have a strong section of the coil that's built to hold weight, and a weaker section of coil, which is either a thinner wire or a less denser wire that is built for comfort. So when you haven't got a load, the coil will work in that soft zone. And when you've got a big heavy load on the back, it'll work in the heavy zone of the coil. So that's a progressive rate coil. And a linear rate coil is basically a coil. It's the same amount of weight holding capacity and ride throughout the whole motion of that coil. Hopefully that makes sense. Does to me.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yes. It makes sense.
If people are interested, there's a video I did on my YouTube channel, and it's about how coil springs are made. And we went through a factory here in Brisbane that makes the coil springs, and we explain each process and stuff like that. So I'm sure if you just search springs on my channel, you'll find that video. We did that for Terrain Tamer.
If people search springs, they'll come to me.
Yeah, search these springs, and then you've got Lucas. So perfect. Okay, so we're going to now mention torsion bars. Now, torsion bars is probably a type of suspension that was very popular over the last kind of 20 years or so, but it has definitely dropped off in popularity over, I think, what torsion bar vehicles. I'm going to test my memory here, but what's Jack? Well, even IFS, there are ones out there. All independent front suspension vehicles of that kind of 90s, early 2000s kind of Pajero, Jackaroo kind of age. And why do you think? I put this question to you, Matt, first. Why do you think we don't do it anymore.
It was probably,
That's a
I
stitch
really
up
don't
again.
know. Yeah, totally. I don't think I have really got a decent answer for that, but I suspect it comes down to the capacity of spring you can fit into a torsion bar is less than the capacity of the spring you can fit into a coil spring in a strut. Like you think of the length of wire that you can put into a coil spring, you won't get that much into a torsion bar. So to get the control and the load carrying of a heavier front end four wheel drive, I suspect the torsion bar system just had to become too beefy for the engine, the componentry around it to support that spring.
Yeah, because there has to be a reason. And look, I'm gonna do a bit of digging in the following weeks and speak to a couple of guys in the suspension world, because I'm actually quite interested in trying to understand, why it was phased out. Because it was a good technology. I think, apart from the fact that it was like, the thing that I liked most about it when I was a young four-wheel driver was that you could like give yourself a suspension lift.
I knew that's where
with
you
a
were
spanner,
going.
right?
Yeah.
Like legit, right? You
Yeah.
could give yourself a suspension lift with a big spanner.
Yeah.
Which may be one of the reasons they got rid of it, because people are dumb.
I think
Yeah.
I think the reason that we got rid of it was a torsion bar system always works under torsion. So like what you're saying there, like if you put dual batteries in it, if you put a bull bar on it, whatever, you've just got to crank more twist into that rod to give you that lift to keep you back at the standard level. But when you're driving down the road and you go to full travel, like if you go through a dip in the road and the suspension travels out, even at full extension of the shock in the front end of that car, that bar is still under torsion. So it's a very, very difficult suspension setup to keep under control with shocks. And I think personally that the failures of those things snap. I don't know. Like when I was working for ARB, 20 years ago, we had heaps of those come through that had, like, they just snapped the torsion bar because people had whined the guts out of them with a spanner, like Dave said.
My NH Pajero 33s by doing that.
Just crank her up. Yeah, so
no down travel whatsoever, but it was great.
That's the biggest problem. So they would top out, like when they go to full extension, they would top out and everything's still under torsion, and you just couldn't control the ride very well. So the front end arm setup and everything in the front is pretty much the same as a coil over setup strut on a Hilux or something today, but instead of having the spline on the back of the A-arm with the twisted rod holding it down, it's got a coil spring that you can control with different rated coils, different shocks, all the rest of it. Like, it's just such an easier task.
So you reckon it comes down to the ability to be able to not modify it, but the ability to be able to customize the suspension design to suit the heavier vehicles and the stuff that we're running these days.
I think people just started dropping off the radar because they just it was a very untunable system. So like, it was just like, if you want to crank it up, but the torsion bar is still the torsion bar. You could get different strengths of rod as well. So like, you just say, I can't think of the numbers, but just say you could get 100 kilo torsion bar for a BT50 or something back in the day. And if you put a ball bar and everything on it, you can get a 250 kilo torsion bar put on the front of it, to try and help you with that. But the ride was just horrendous. Like, comparative to a coil front end, the torsion bar was horrendous. So
okay, well, and that leads us probably into the most common suspension these days, which is that coil over strut independent front end suspension, right? We're talking about every ute on the market, most wagons on the market, unless we start going into crazy systems like the KDSS, 200 series and some of the fancy stuff that is, we're not going to go into in this podcast because no one understands that stuff. We call that, I call it white man magic, and it just works. But in saying that, let's talk about that standard design, and that's not, it's pretty straightforward, but it kind of integrates the spring and the shock into one unit.
Yeah, that's right.
Why do you think we went down that path?
packaging would have to be a part of it.
Yeah, it'd have to be. But I think what Matt said there before is, the amount of wire you can fit into a coil and all that sort of stuff, which helps with suspension tunability. You can, put a progressive rate coil, a linear rate coil in there. What are you going to do with the vehicle? Like there's so many different options, and they're so tunable to suit everybody's different requirements. And up control arms, you can get UCAs like that are adjustable, so to suit a bigger lift, you can get. It's just such an easy system, and it, like you say, it's on every single car. So,
yep.
And I think just a lot of vehicle manufacturers are making these decisions from a cost perspective.
Yep.
How much can I make that for? How much I can make that for? Yes, there's some reliability. Yes, they've got to balance a whole heap of considerations, but the cost will be a factor for sure.
Have to be.
It does, absolutely. Now, I'm going to put this out there. I did a bit of a search to see what were the most common Google searches on suspension and questions about suspension. So the first one is, what is the best suspension for towing in a four-wheel drive?
I'd have to say leaf spring, eh?
I don't know.
What is the best? That's the most common, but what would you consider in your personal opinion? Okay, Matt, I'm going to put it this way. You've got your vehicle, your 200 series, right? Mm-hmm. What would you, if that was stock and you were going to be towing a big caravan, what would you do to that vehicle to make it great for towing? What would be the modifications you would make?
So I wouldn't be putting. I'd probably put a little bit. I'd put suspension in it. I wouldn't put a big lift in it. I would put. I'd put adjustable shock absorbers in it, and I would. I'd be looking to. I'd probably want to have an airbag system in the back so that I have that tunability of ride, because, you go and chuck the drawbar weight on the back of the 200 and it sags down a bit. You want to be able to bring that back up just so that you're sitting level. The reason I'd want the adjustable shocks is I find that, especially like with my 200, when I'm towing my race car behind the 200, and that the front shock, having the front shocks adjustable makes a huge difference to the way the vehicle tows. People would often think that you'd adjust the back shocks, but it's actually the front shocks that control that bucking action, if you will, and keep the vehicle a lot more stable. So I'd want the adjustable shock so that I can tune the ride, and I'd want that airbag to bring the back up. I think that would be with my 200, yeah. But when I had the F250 before the 200, it was leaf spring all around. It had tunable shocks on it as well, and I used to have to tune the front shocks on that when I was towing the race car, but it was really planted on the road. Long wheelbase, leaf spring, and it had panhard rods on the leaf spring because it had a bit of lift in it. It was very planted.
Okay. Lucas, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's funny. I'm in the middle of building a Y62 Patrol, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm setting that up to be able to tow a van as well. So they're a 3.5 ton tow capacity. I've upgraded the GVM, GCM, all that sort of stuff. So we've put heavier coils in the back, and I've put airbags in the back, which are controlled by an ARB link system. So obviously when we put the van on, we can just hit the button on the dash and, up the ante in the back. But I agree with Matt. In some cases, you need to change the shocks. But with the 62, they got the HBMC, hydraulic body motion control system. So all the shocks and everything are all hydraulically controlled by the computer. So it's got very, very good technology in that vehicle, which hopefully controls all of that stuff for me. So for me, it's coils with bags and the correct shocks.
Oh, yeah. So we're similar.
Yeah, very similar.
It's interesting.
Very similar.
It's often interesting because, I sit here in my own little echo chamber thinking I know stuff, and it's great hearing, we're sort of on the same page with other stuff.
Yeah. And I was talking about echo chambers. Someone's got a frog going off in the background or something like that.
There's a bullfrog. I keep hitting mute because I'm like, he's trying to. It's not me. It's not me dropping me guts, by the way.
I love it. One of the other questions, common questions, how much can I legally lift my four-wheel drive?
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
It is a loaded question.
Yep.
And we'll go into it in a little bit of detail. Obviously, there's a lot around that, and there's a lot of rules and regulations.
Yep.
But Lucas, maybe you want to start with me on this one. What's your understanding on, within Australia, what are the legal limits?
So it depends on the vehicle straight away. So if a vehicle's got ABS, stability control, like all this sort of stuff, as opposed to a GU patrol, like my patrol, for instance, the laws are completely different. So with my GU patrol, I can do a 4-inch lift legally in the state of Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure if that's nationally recognised yet, but 100% it is in Queensland. Whereas the Navara that I have, 2 inches, that's it. And that's,
Is that spring and tyre or just spring? Or
that's overall.
Okay.
From what I understand. So correct me if I'm wrong, audience, because it's such a up and down question, but no.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Just keep bouncing along, buddy.
Yeah, so so 25 mil in suspension, 25 mil bigger in tyre. But when you start talking about tyre size, there's also laws around tyres. So you can't go, X amount bigger overall and factory, and so it's a very, very loaded question.
Everything else, yeah, totally, yeah.
So,
which is really where you need to go and talk to an engineer if you want to really start pushing the limits, because there's self-engineering, which is where you go and put a 2-inch lift in and maybe you go from a 31.5 to a 33-inch tire. That's self-engineering. Most four-wheel drives kind of get away with that, but you need to check for your own vehicle. But after that, companies like Superior Engineering, they are doing some pretty cool stuff in this space. So, like now, you can get an 80 series engineered 4-inch lift and 35s. I think I saw the other day, and same with your GQs and your GUs.
Because they've gone out and done the testing with their systems to prove they're just as safe.
So their head engineer there, Greg, he's a guru on this stuff, and he's just an asset to Superior Engineering because he can just knows how to they're not doing it dodgy. Like, it's completely legitimately above board, and it's you pay for the privilege, but if you want that, it's pretty cool.
So to give you an example of my GU, right? So it's going through for the Battle Axe, is going through for the 4-inch lift and 35s. Everything engineered, tyres, suspension, the whole lot, which is obviously, and after that vehicle's been registered in the country, because it's 2005 model, whatever it is. So they still perform a brake test and they still perform a swerve test. An engineer still comes out and inspects that vehicle, and ticks it off. Obviously, they've done so many, and that engineer can look at a vehicle now and go, oh yeah, that's got the same as that, and understands that that's going to be, the box is going to be ticked. But yeah, again, it's super, super difficult to do that with a Navara, for instance, because of all that traction stability control. But that being said, my Y62 with DMW, we've just done a full GVM, GCM upgrade, suspension lift and 35s, and that car is what they call a SSM upgrade, which Superior do those for 79s and all that sort of stuff. But DMW have done that on mine, so it's legally been lifted. I think it's either 2 or 3 inches of lift that's gone into that car. That's running 35-inch tyres, and it's fully engineered via SSM, so second state manufacturing. And it's legal on the road. So if you don't do that in some cases before the car is first registered in the country, you cannot do it. So if you are looking at putting lift, tyres, etc. into a new vehicle, get onto Superior Engineering, get onto DMW, and find out what's available.
We should maybe get somebody in this space in and have a convo around that side of things, Dave.
I agree.
I agree. That'd be really interesting. I think we could all learn a lot, because I know Lucas, one of our mates, Chris, he had his Jeep on 37s, I think, all fully engineered, and like, this was a big Jeep, the Gladiator, And he was saying to me the other day that he's just given up on running it on the road because he keeps getting pulled over by the cops. And he's like, here's all the paperwork, here's all of the everything. And it's just a harassment magnet for him. And he says it's just so frustrating driving it, even though it's completely legit.
He's
done the right thing, but
He did sell it, did he?
Yeah, it's gone. He's driving a dirty old Volkswagen Amarok now. Oh, my good Lord.
Wow. Really? So he's no longer in the low-range crew, eh?
No.
I'd hate to own a vehicle with no low range. Never going to do it. Oh, hang on. I bought one.
Moving on. Final question that's from Google is what I'm trying to find this on my notes here. What type of suspension gives the best comfort?
Coil. Oh, airbag.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think airbag.
I think airbags are pretty bloody good, but I think the terrain it matters where you're actually driving that car, because the airbags don't cope very well, in my opinion, with corrugations and things, whereas the coils cope with that very, very well. So I think it's a matter of where you're driving it, what you're using for, but airbags are nearly like riding on air.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. But the thing with the airbag is you need such excellent shock absorber, because the airbag's carrying the load, but the shock absorber has to control that. And and it's just, I think it's pretty challenging.
And look, we haven't gone into this too much in this, and we're running tight on time, so we'll loop back around to this in another podcast. But what we probably should also mention here is we've talked about the different types of suspension components, but we hinted on it when we talked about independent suspension, right? But we didn't really talk about, most of the time when you're talking about a leaf-sprung vehicle or you're talking about a coil-sprung vehicle, you're talking about a solid axle vehicle as opposed to a independent vehicle suspension system. So, Matt, do you just want to explain to us the difference between independent suspension and live axle vehicles, right? And how that relates to comfort, specifically when you're driving off-road.
So live axle refers to like your GQ patrols, your GU patrols, your 80 series Land Cruisers, your 105 Land Cruisers, 79 series. That it's basically what we call a beam axle. So you've got your two wheels on your front axle, and they're solidly joined by a big housing that has a differential in there and all of that. And same with the back end. So that's a live axle suspension. Now, the thing about it is, if the tire goes down into a bump and up out of the bump, that whole beam axle assembly does that with it. So that comes into what we call the unsprung weight. So that weight is below the spring. It follows the exact surface of the road. And as opposed to your sprung weight, which is you, and the cabin of the vehicle sits on top of the springs. So where that comes into ride is below your spring. You've now got this big lump of metal and wheels and all that banging up and down over all the bumps that your suspension has to isolate you from, while still giving you good handling and good road manners and all of the rest. And there's limitations within that. So now when we step over to independent suspension, we've got less unsprung weight, because we come from the chassis down to the wheel with a couple of control arms, and our unsprung weight is our wheel and tyre package. And then it's from there to the chassis, it's a ratio of how much effect that weight of the control arms and all of the componentry in there has as an effect on the your unsprung weight. So an independent suspension vehicle is going to give you a smoother, more comfortable ride, because you have less unsprung weight.
Yeah.
How did I go on that, Lucas? Been put on the spot, did I?
Yeah, not bad, and I agree. I agree. The independents do have a much nicer ride, but a solid beam axle, not a 79, a solid beam axle in a GU or a 105 or something like that, can be a very nice ride too, if it's the the suspension's tuned correctly.
Totally agree. Yep.
But the pros and cons thing, obviously, independent suspension, much nicer ride generally. But if you lift that vehicle, you put a lot more angle on the CV joints and stuff like that, and you're susceptible to breakages. So the beam axle is a much stronger, more reliable off-road, heavy off-road, crazy vehicle. And my big frog's about to crack on again here in a minute, so I apologise. But yeah, so independent's good for Prados and things like that are cruising around, and they might do a trip here and there. But for a good, solid off-road vehicle,
hardcore
solid axle's the way to go.
Yep.
Now, look, I thought there's a very good demonstration that I've seen by a vehicle manufacturer. Now, vehicle manufacturers are well known for doing great TV ads, so I thought I'd share this one with everybody. This is an ad that legitimately went on television.
No.
Just putting this out there, right?
Was it on after midnight, was it?
Yeah, it was an after midnight ad, but...
Lucas, can you explain to those listening what they're watching now? I'm not going near it.
And look who it was for. Nissan. The new Nissan Pathfinder with front independent suspension.
I wouldn't want to comment.
I'll comment. I'll explain what it is.
Lucas is muted.
Lucas is gone. The boys don't want to talk. But I'll explain. If anyone's seen it, we'll put the link in the show notes. But it's a very clever German ad that has a lady's front part that it has some boobs.
The lady's front independent suspension.
Correct. It has a bikini, and it shows how independent suspension works. Now, it's a bit risky. Look, please don't get offended. It's a bit of fun that the Germans have done. The Germans do a great job of pushing the limit on their TV ads. Look, I think there's other ads out there that are just as good. I love the old New Zealand Hilux ad. That's a cracker where it washes up on the shore, and there's a couple there. But hey, I can only say, Lucas, this is your manufacturer that's decided to come out with ads like this. So. And
you're muted, Lucas.
Your frog's kept you quiet. Take the frog out of your throat.
Yeah. So I was actually trying to explain what that was. So it was a lady's bikini top holding a set of boobs.
Bikini tops hold in,
and the boobs were moving in motion with the vehicle, which it doesn't need to be censored or anything, and it's just a bit of great fun. Which I'm glad it wasn't an old man with the fat old man. That's all I can say.
Hey, I could do that ad.
Oh, God.
Well, that's what the Toyota one looks like from Germany. We don't want to see that.
All right. Moving on. We're going to move on to another segment of the show, and that is this one right here.
Have you ever wondered, when should I use low range? When should I use high range in my four-wheel drive? Soft shackles are becoming a key part of the four-wheel driver's toolkit, and it's a good thing that they are. Should I fit a front locker or a rear locker first?
Yep, it's that time for off-road advice.
The old off-road advice segment, and this week we've had a question sent in, and here it is, boys. Have a listen closely.
G'day, Insiders. I've got a question here on recovery gear. I've been recently acquired a kit from my old man, and just wondering about some of the contents of it, the pulleys, and if you could shed some light on a double line pull for me, if you could.
So there you go. That is the question this week. So our listener's got himself, and Matt, I think this came in from someone you know. Let's talk about hand-me-down recovery kits first.
Yeah. So this is a fella, Dale, and he's pretty keen on his full driving. But just sort of getting into it. And so hand-me-down full drive kits. Well, a lot of the componentry is going to be great. Where I'd be cautious around is, a snatch strap or something like that that's been sitting in a cupboard for 20 years, I think it probably should be thrown in the bin. They do wear out, and they're such a dangerous piece of kit. I'd be throwing that out. But aside from that, bow shackles, a lot of your, say, a tree trunk protector, your snatch blocks, recovery rings, those sort of components. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to wear out as such. So, yeah, good luck to you, man. Good score, I'd say.
Absolutely. And the question there also goes down to understanding a little bit about some of the components in that kit. So we don't know, obviously, if this is a modern kit or an older kit, but let's be honest, they all still work very well in a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of talk about, using winch, using rings that are designed for synthetic rope and everything that goes with that. And there's a lot to unpack in that space. But he's asked there specifically about the pulleys. So, Matt, maybe we talk a little bit about what kind of pulleys you can have in a kit.
Well, I mean, that just reminds me, Dave, of something that happened on one of our TV shows. So there's what we call a snatch block.
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
Oh, now I remember. Oh.
Yeah. So you have a snatch block, and these have been around since the days of sailing boats, where it's basically you have two metal plates that pivot around a pulley, and when they pivot together, the holes line up, and you can attach that to something, but when they pivot apart, you can put a cable into the pulley. So that's what we call a snatch block. And why Dave and I cringed there is we were doing gunshot up Cape York, doing some filming for a TV show, and one of these pulleys that came from a fairly reputable brand that had got their products from overseas, and there was a fair range of these products being supplied by various companies. And I know of 3 of them that failed, where the circlip blows out and lets go of the rope. And we dropped a vehicle down gunshot that we were winching down because this component failed. So, yeah, that was
dropped on its nose.
Yeah, that was scary as we all
Was the colour of that pulley red?
Yes.
I've had the same thing, mate. I've had the same thing. Yeah.
I don't want to.
It was pretty scary, but as often comes down to with recovery gear, regular inspection and maintenance, is very, very important.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Dave. But this was a case of poor product.
Yeah, and that happens at times. Totally.
Yeah. So it really came down to probably buying a better quality product. Now, how do you do that when you've gone? This was a very reputable brand. I would have walked in there and thought I was buying a top shelf product. So anyway, that was just a thing that happened. But the other way we can do it, and again, we don't know what Dale got here, but is a recovery ring, which is what we're seeing a lot of these days, where it's just like, it looks like a pulley, and that's all it is. And they're excellent for soft shackle. You can't soft recoveries. You can't use them with wire rope. But again, these are a concept that come around from old sailing ships, back when they had hemp rope and all those sort of things. They used to use these pulleys to redirect ropes and stuff. So that's the 2 types that we see in the full dry space today. They have got pros and cons, and maybe that's a video I should do at some point in time. But Lucas, how about you talk about what a double line pull?
Well, a double line pull is when your winch isn't strong enough to recover a vehicle, you run your winch to a snatch block or a ring and then back to your vehicle. And that doubles the strength, in a nutshell, doubles the strength of the pulling power of that winch. It's twice as slow, but twice as strong. So it becomes a safer, more controlled recovery if you need that extra strength. I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell, isn't it? Like
that's a good one. Yeah.
There's one other advantage, and that is like, and the TV show Dave and I've got out at the moment, Exploring Off the Grid. In an upcoming, well, it depends when this hits the air, but in an episode, we do a vehicle recovery, and one of the key points of it was we needed to make sure that this was really, really slow. so that we could keep control of the situation, because we ran a real risk of rolling the vehicle if things went wrong. So we didn't need the power of the double line pull. We needed the slow speed of the double line pull.
Yep. Do you know, once I'll mention this quickly, and I'd be interested in both of your thoughts on this. But I helped a mate out with some four-wheel drive training once, and I went along as just a helper, just to help him run ropes and do other things. And he told me that he explained a really cool recovery method, right? That is the maximum possible, like power and power and speed all in one. And what he showed was two double line pulls, right? So the two pulley blocks together with effectively a shackle or soft shackle between them, and both the recovering vehicle and the recovery vehicle doing a double line pull. So both winches running simultaneously. So what you got was 4 times the pulling power, right? So both winches at double their strength at normal winching speed.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'd never thought of doing that. And it's not something I necessarily recommend to someone who's not done it before. But if you think about it, there's a lot of stuff going everywhere. But it is actually quite a cool, obviously comes down to ratings and things like that, especially that one thing in the middle that's holding all that.
About fuses earlier in the show.
Totally. But it is a cool way to get, normal speed and maximum pulling power for something in a situation. As long as you're not pulling against something that's not going to move. Maybe that's something they should have done with your 80s series, Lucas, on the beach.
I think one of the things with this is there's lots of interesting ways you can do recovery and winching setups and stuff, and I do wonder sometimes if it's all well and good, but in reality, you never need most of it. And so what it does is confuses the daylights out of the people who are coming to the scene. I personally think most people should know how to do a safe single line and double line winch pull and a winch redirect. And that's about all you're ever going to need for the average Joe out there in the four-wheel driving community, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think on your scenario there, Dave, there's a couple of boxes that are ticked for me and a couple that are crossed for me. One is that is cool as shit. Like, I like it. Like, it's so that's the Lucas. But when I put the professional hat on, as far as recoveries go, if you're doing a double line pull, you need to slow that recovery down as much as you can so you can do it safely and controlled. So when you start double line pulling and you're doubling powers and all that sort of stuff, you're putting a lot of stress on a lot of things, and a lot can go wrong, even though it's slow, but it can go wrong very quickly. So I think as cool as that is, I probably wouldn't suggest doing it. So
I just thought it was an interesting concept of a way to do something. That's a bit.
It is an interesting one.
I agree. Yep.
Okay. Well, speaking about that, we're on to Matt's favourite part of the show.
The bit where Dave fails.
That's a whole world of pain.
We don't offer marriage counselling, but I'm hearing that he's going to need it.
Walk in a puddle is what I should have done a few moments ago, but I didn't, and I got us into a whole world of pain.
It's time in the show for those moments that you kind of want to forget. It's time for Trail Fails.
Yeehaw.
It's a good one.
Come on, Dave.
Well, it's my turn. Everyone's had their chance. And as of next episode, we're going to have some people sending in their fails, which I'm looking forward to. We've had a couple rolling in, so I've got a couple ready to go. There's some crackers.
Send them in, guys. I want some laughs.
Send them
Come
in.
on.
Yeah, we got to see them. Okay, so my one comes down to a couple of years ago, we were filming. A lot of my forward driving has been while working, which is great. We're on Fraser Island, or Gari. Back then it was just called Fraser. We were on the island and we had a whole bunch of vehicles and caravans with us, or not caravans, more hybrid campers. We're doing a show called Camper Trail Lifestyle, and we'd been all the way up the beach, up through Indian Head, and it had been pretty tough going. We'd had a bit of, as always happens when you're trying to film something, the tides never want to line up with what my plan is, because I want really nice light and really nice this. So we left it pretty late to come back down to Happy Valley, where we were staying out the back of. And we're coming down that stretch between kind of Indian Head and the top of the beach there, running down towards Happy Valley, which is quite a long stretch. It's deceptively long. You don't think about how far it is until you're doing it as the tide's coming in. So we were going as the tide's coming in.
Come on. You drowned the vehicle, don't you? Come on, where's this going?
So I was in the lead, and I'm in our D-Max at that stage. It was a good D-Max. We had it for quite a while. Norwood canopy on the back, all the camera gear in the back, me and one other guy in the vehicle, and we were kind of pushing ahead because these caravans and stuff behind us, or these campers, really where we were on that top part of sand, they can't stop, right? Like, they've got to keep that momentum up. Otherwise, they're staying there. It was that kind of thing. And I've got Leash in one of them in 200 series at the back. I've got a couple of other people, a guy called Willow from up in Queensland there. You may know Willow. Matt.
He does the croc hinge.
He does the croc hinge. Yep, he's the guy who created the croc hinge. He's in his 70 series towing another camper, and we're trying to push. So I'm trying to get ahead of these guys so I can give them warnings and let them know what's coming up. And when you run up that high side of the beach, sometimes there's these little rivers that come out.
Oh no!
You can kind of see where this is going. And you get that time of the day when it's grey and a bit overcast.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really see what's ahead. Like, you can see, but it's not like you haven't got shadows.
Yes.
So I was doing about 60.
Which was really 70, but anyway, yes.
Potatoes. It's about 60, and we in the D-Max went straight off a probably 500 or 400 high embankment at 60.
Yeah.
Right? Which wasn't all that bad. However, going up the side, there was a time when we dropped off to when we went up the other side. The jerry can in the back of the jerry can holder in the canopy, Willow reckons it went 20 meters in the air. The pendulum effect that happened when I went up the other side and the rear axle hit the. We've all seen that video of the 60 series with the guys on the back that end up.
I was just thinking of that.
Great video, but that's what happened to my jerry can. I pulled over. And I genuinely thought the passenger front left wheel is going to be in the passenger footwell. That was how hard it hit. Like,
solid.
I just was like, and to like, the great thing about the beach and like that is, as soon as it bounced through that, we're in soft sand, and I was just off the power and I stopped real quick. Right, it's not like you had to try and get control or anything. That was nice.
But no airbags went off?
No airbags went off, but I don't know how it didn't. Probably a fault with the vehicle, but nothing went off. And I managed to, and look, and I've as you know, Matt, I've driven for a long time.
Yeah.
Once I dropped off that embankment, it was just hold on and keep it straight. There's nothing you can do, right? I was like, I've stuffed up. Hold on. Try and keep it straight. That's all you can do. Like, there was no way of in fact, I remember clearly I didn't jump on the brakes at all. I just came off the throttle, but no brakes, because as soon as you jump on brakes, I'm putting the nose of the car into that other embankment. So it's just like, I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to ride it out. And I think the noise that came out of the cameraman in the passenger seat sounded like a bit of a whistle. But I got out and looked at the vehicle, and I went, it's actually okay.
No
Like
way.
everything's still straight. How am I this lucky?
You
right?
had a camper on the back, didn't you?
No camper for me.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Oh, it's just vehicle, right? So
Yeah,
no
right.
camper
Yeah.
for me. The camper's with everybody else. Everything was okay. That next day we got off the island, drove back to Sydney, right? All good. Yep, sweet. It tracked a bit dodgy, like it wasn't real steering, real straight. But
How odd.
it was fine. Funny that I dropped it off to Tough Dog, who did all the suspension in it for us back in the show in those days. I dropped it off to Tough Dog, and I said to Simon, who's a great bloke there at Tough Dog, he's one of the most knowledgeable people on suspension. Probably should have got him in today. He would have been great. But I literally rolled in and said, "Hey, Simon, yeah, I had a bit of a tough little bump on Fraser."
And he I know you, Dave. I know you.
I'd just like you to check it out, make sure everything's all good under there. About an hour later, I got a phone call, and he said, "Dave, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is your shocks are still good. The bad news is there is a crack that runs around the whole front of the upper control arm, upper mount, had cracked along the chassis."
Wow.
Yeah. And I got on the phone to Club 4x4. and the car was a write-off, effectively.
Oh, wow.
They looked at potentially replacing the whole chassis on the vehicle, right?
Yep.
And this is a problem with modern cars as well. Like, realistically, what it probably needed was a weld, and it would have probably been fine, because where it cracked was on where the mount attached to the chassis, not anywhere else. But it cracked where the mount actually welds to the chassis. Cracked through there. Car was a write-off. That was the day I crashed my D-Max into the earth and lived to talk about it.
Wow.
That was my biggest fail. It was a nice car, a very good car, and I stuffed it.
The seismologists registered that on their equipment.
And I've had back issues ever since. That was my fail. I've had plenty of others over the years, but I've to this day I've never rolled a four-wheel drive myself.
I can't say that.
I've been navvying one that rolled. But I blame the driver for not listening to me.
For sure.
Obviously, because that's how it works. But that's my little fail. So look, guys, if you've got some good ones, please send them in. We'd love to hear of your fails. And it's a good lighthearted segment. Like we all have had those moments that we'd like to forget. And that's what we like to talk about. So, all right, well, wrapping up, guys, we're going to try and wrap this one up in the next 3 minutes. So we sit under the 2-hour mark. It's probably our longest podcast yet, but that's okay. Thank you, everybody, once again for tuning in. And we will talk to you guys in one of our next upcoming podcasts.
Yeah, good on you guys. Thanks for hanging around. Listen to us talk rubbish.
Powered by Riverside FM.